This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so every one of you should be able to see my screen and able to hear me. We will start in next 1 minute to discuss about web services. So this is a generalized concept first, and later we look at Pega PRPC, how it is going to be technically designed. Okay, hope everyone is available. So let's go ahead now. So we are going to discuss about web services. So web services is a concept, okay, that is going to be used in order to establish communication between two different applications. So over the web. See here, suppose consider we have two applications. So application 1 and application 2. So we want these two applications to communicate with each other for a data exchange. For some reason, two applications have to interact with each other in order to exchange the data. So two applications here means this can be of application belongs to some organization. This can be application belongs to another organization. Here, these two applications wanted to communicate to exchange the data. So now, in order to establish the communication and connection between two applications, we need a software program. Okay, that software program is called as a web service. Okay, it is going to offer some service to the applications over the web. So web service is also a software program. Okay, so which can be used while you wanted to have a communication being established between two or more applications. Let's take for example, so we just imagine, let me go to the diagram and tell you. So just imagine, so we have one bank application. So banking system, so the banking system has an application with them. So in the banking system, when they are going to process, let's say for example, they are going to process loans. Okay, they are going to create new loans for the customers, loan accounts. Whenever a customer is going to apply for the loan, customer is going to submit the details. So what is his salary and what is the tax that he is going to pay? All these details he will submit in the documents. So there may be chances that customers can fabricate the documents, edit the documents, and then submit the wrong documents. So now bank has to verify that whether they are paying the correct income tax as provided in the documentation, the details are valid or not. Suppose you have to submit the PAN card number also, so PAN card details also. So they may submit PAN card by fabricating it or something. Okay, so the details submitted on this PAN card are correct or not. So everything they wanted to verify. So but actually, whether the person, while they are processing the loan application, at one of the screen they wanted to validate. When they enter the PAN card number and click on a button called validate in their application, what will happen? It will display all the information. What is the name of the customer, and based on this PAN card, what is his address, and what is the photo of the customer that is there with the system, and what is the tax, what are the tax details on this PAN card, what was the tax that has been paid during the last financial year. All this data it is going to display. They will match the data what is being displayed against the data submitted by the customer. Everything is same, then correct, else that's a fake, something like that. So now how they get the data? The data related to taxation information based on the PAN card number, that will not be available with banking system. Banking systems, they do not know the data of customers who are, whether they are paying the tax, how much and all. These details will be maintained by another department called income tax department, the respective government related to state, country. So they're going to maintain the taxation information of the people. At their end, they have some application. So every year, for the customers who are going to pay the tax, they will be customer accounts with PAN card number with them, and they have complete details of the taxation information. But the information which is there with income tax department wants to be utilized by bank. It's not only bank. Similar to this bank, there are a number of banks and maybe a number of other departments which are related to financial or other sectors. They also wanted similar kind of information in order to verify the genuinity of the data that customer is going to submit for their business processing without any issues. In this type of situations, now the bank application should depend on another vendor, that is income tax department, where banking system will give the PAN card number, will send them a PAN card number requesting for details about the taxation. Now when income tax department is going to receive that PAN card number in their system, from their system they will pull the data related to taxation information for the specific PAN card number, and they're going to provide the data to the system, whoever is going to request for the data. So here two different systems are involved. One is banking system, another one is income tax system. So here banking system is called as requester or consumer. It can be called as consumer or requester, and the income tax department is called as service provider, who is providing the service that someone is looking for. Okay, so where the data will be available with income tax department will have all the data in its own database. So now banking system, banking application is not going to directly interact with income tax database. That means income tax department, as per the request by so many people outside, they wanted to share the data based on PAN card number. For that they may charge. As the data with them is available in their database, they will not directly expose their database to people. That means they do not place a copy of the database and ask everyone, this is the URL, username, password, you connect to this database, this is the table name and this is the query, this is how you need to send, then our database is going to send back. They will not design a system like this. Means they will not allow anyone to directly hit their servers. Okay, actual database servers and all. So instead, what do they do? So now income tax department will create a software program. They will create one software program. That software program features are, this software program will be invoked from outside. Means it will have a one URL. Suppose Google has one software program. What is that? Google.com. When you give in the browser, when you, okay, just give me 1 minute. I'm not sure whether what I'm typing there. Google.com. When you give this URL, this is the program that got invoked, which is a search engine program. Search engine program is designed by Google and they exposed it to everyone. Now you have some software product, you want to expose its functionality to outside. How do you expose? By giving the URL access to that particular product. So this is called endpoint URL. This is called as endpoint URL, where the actual product is located, okay, on the server. Now for this I'm trying to give some parameters. I have given some parameter. Okay, so google.com, some such parameter you are giving. So you give google.com / some such parameter, that will hit the server, and to the server it is giving one request string. Now server will receive the request, right? For that request, it will search in its database, correct? And then it is going to respond back with some results to the client. Who is client here? Is browser. Client here is, in this case of what I am showing here on the screen, is browser. Browser is a client, Google is service provider. When you are hitting the service provider by URL and a query string, I mean like request ID, request details, that is going to send a response back to the client. Same concept. Now in the web services also, the service provider will have a software program designed at their end. That software program is an interface now to their database and to the requester. Now a requester is going to send a request to a software program which is called web service. The software program that is designed by service providers is called web service. Now how they will expose this web service? There will be one endpoint URL, like we have Google service endpoint URL www.google.com. They will also install on some server the service. There will be some URL, XYZ URL. So now the requester system is going to send a request to the service provider with a URL by locating it plus some request parameter. In the example which we are discussing, what is the request parameter value? PAN card number. So some request URL plus additionally it will add PAN card number and send a request to the web service. Now web service, when it receives the request, what does it do? The web service, it is going to take the request data and interact with its own database and generate the output. Output will be sent back to the requester. The output is called as response. Output is called as response data. So the service provider receives request data and searches in their database, find out the result and send the response data to the requester. So here consumer is responsible for requesting, service provider web service is responsible for responding back, receiving request and responding back. So here they are responsible for sending request and receiving response. Sending a request plus they are receiving a response. If you look at the other end, they are receiving request and sending response back. Okay, that response will be received by requesters. Everyone clear? So two systems will be involved in the web services concept. One is consumer or requester and the second one is service provider. Service provider is the one who will have that software program designed at their end. That is called as web service. Everyone clear with this concept? Conceptually, it's not related to specific technology. Any technology concept is same. Make sense, everyone? Online resources.
Yes, Harsha.
Okay. Those who are not working, do not have any IT experience. Okay. Now, let me explain you a little more. Let's say, for example, the banking application here, which is requesting for the data. Let's say that is developed by using Pega tool. Okay, Pega PRPC tool. Now, the application, the service provider application, income tax application, their web service, the product software product has been developed by using .NET technology. Okay, .NET framework. Make sense? Now, Pega maintains its data in the system in the form of clipboard pages. And there are page property value, correct? Now, .NET system, they will maintain .NET object .variables .values, correct? So now, can Pega pages be understandable to .NET? .NET cannot understand. Suppose you send as it is page .properties from Pega application to another application, it may not be able to understand. Same concept, so like in human beings also, what will happen? Suppose one person knows Hindi, the second person knows Telugu language, but they do not understand each other's language. Okay, Telugu person, if he is going to deliver the speech in Telugu, the person who knows only Hindi, he may not be able to process it because he cannot understand it. So now what do we need? How do you solve this now? We need a translator here. Means, or we need a common communication language which will be understandable to both of them. Okay. So generally you think about, suppose you belong to Telugu medium and another person belongs to Hindi medium. Okay. Now at the initial stages of learning, you may realize that, you may feel this. Suppose this is the very initial stages, early stages, you are learning how to speak in English. Okay, for both of them. Generally what happens when you're initially learning, anything that you wanted to say in English language, your mind is going to think about the same in your own mother tongue. So your mind will process from Telugu converted into English and you deliver it. Correct? The other person will receive English. Now the Hindi person will receive English, but he will not process as it is in English. He will receive the English language and his mind is going to translate into Hindi and he is going to understand that now. What happens going forward? This process will speed up, the conversion will speed up in human beings. It will be micro milliseconds going forward. But initially you might be realizing this if you are from local medium languages. Okay. So like this, the common communication language which is understandable to both of the applications. Same concept what we have discussed now. Now, Pega application understands everything in its own language of clipboard format. Now the data that is available here in clipboard format, when it is sending to the service provider, it is going to convert that Pega PRPC page data into common communication language. That can be any data structure, some common communication data structure. Now that common communication data structure data will be received by service provider, but service provider will not process as it is. What the service provider application going to do? When it receives the common communication data structure, it will convert that common data structure into its own, here in this case .NET variables, right? And then it does the processing and generates the output. When it generates the output will be in .NET variables objects format only. So it has received common data structure, converted into its own language, generated the output in its own language. Now it has to send back. When it is sending back the response, now it will not send as it is. It will convert that it will convert the .NET language into common data structure and send it back to requester. Now at the requester end, requester will receive the response in common data structure. Can the requester process as it is? No, it will not process. Now it will again convert the common data structure into its own native language of clipboard pages. So total at requester end, how many conversion techniques? 2 conversion techniques. One is native language to common data structure. Another one is common data structure to native language. At the service provider and also, how many conversion techniques we need? 2 conversion techniques. One is common language to native, again native to common when you are sending a response back. So whether your system is a service provider, whether your system is a consumer, no matter, at both ends we need this language conversion techniques, and the applications are different technology application. Same technology ankondi, for example, we may not need it actually, okay, but generally same technology also. Web services we will go with common different one, because we will not directly establish connection between 2 applications generally, okay. So anyhow, that is how the web services concept is going to work. Now whenever you are trying to create one web service or to expose to third party people, or whenever you are trying to consume the existing web service that is already available, either of the 2 cases, the systems should follow some protocols. So the service, while creating itself, it should be created based on some protocol, okay. That protocol could be any one of the protocols, n number of web service protocols available. SOAP, simple object access protocol. SOAP stands for simple object access protocol. If the web service is created based on simple object access protocol, consumers will be accessing this by using same protocol. So who will decide which protocol to be used? Service provider will decide. Service provider, what is the protocol based on which his service is being defined, the same details will be provided to consumers. Consumers will be following that. Or REST is actually an architecture, not a protocol. Representational state transfer protocol, but it is an architecture actually, HTTP related architecture. HTTP is also a protocol, right? Hypertext transfer protocol, which we are using regularly. Google.com, Facebook.com, Twitter.com, all this is HTTP protocol. We are accessing the services. And message queues, it's not a protocol. And Java, .NET, EJB, COM, Cobra, MQ, like this, there are a number of protocols available. Most widely being used protocols are like SOAP, and architecture wise REST, and also MQ is also being used some places. Make sense, everyone? So each protocol defines some set of rules that must be followed, and also each protocol defines how the data structure should be in which language. A protocol supports a language of data structure. Suppose if you are building a web service by using SOAP protocol, okay, let me explain you how does SOAP works. Everyone clear so far? So far we have discussed about the general concept of web service. Now within the web service, SOAP protocol I'm going to explain you. Okay, everyone clear so far? Okay, now if a web service is being built based on SOAP protocol, the request and response data structure that is supported by SOAP protocol is XML data structure. Let me show you how an XML looks like. Just for your information, this is called as XML data structure. XML data structure will have a tag, will have tags. Tag may have a value. If it has a value, it is equal to one property, one variable. If it doesn't have a value, it is a top level node, okay, higher level node. So this is how an XML data structure can be defined. So now SOAP protocol, simple object access protocol, supports XML data structure format between two systems that is going to transfer the data. So if your web service is built based on SOAP protocol, then the common data structure that should be used by both applications is XML format. That means, let's say for example, there is a web service which has been designed based on SOAP protocol. Now consumer wants to send a request to the web service of SOAP service. So now here consumer Pega application, Pega data format is clipboard pages and properties. Now clipboard pages and properties should be converted into which language? XML language. And XML language data structure will be sent to service provider. Service provider, when they receive the XML format, they will not process as it is XML. They will convert the XML into .NET variables and then process it and generate the output in .NET variables format. When they generate the output in .NET variables format, they convert the .NET variables into which language? XML language, and the response that will be sent back will be in XML format. Now the requester is going to receive the response in which language? XML language, and that the requester is going to convert it to clipboard format. Everyone here knows own native language format. So at consumer and service provider end, we need two different conversions: native to XML, XML to native, whether your system is a service provider or consumer, when the web service is being designed by using SOAP protocol, simple object access protocol. Everyone clear so far? Anyone has any doubt in general? Anyone has any questions here? Clear so far, right? Next, further, let me tell you more about SOAP. See, for example, just think about Google. Google is a service provider. So where they have one web service application called Google.com. Google is a product, right? So where search engine is a product. The search engine, how they are exposing, they have deployed it on a server. They're exposing it by the URL, google.com, and there are parameters. Whatever the parameter you give, it will search and it has the results that will be displayed. Now, here, the service provider, whoever is the service provider, they wanted to expose their service to third-party world, right? Correct, right? Third-party world means n number of consumers will be accessing it. When you are a consumer, you wanted to access service. What are the details that you should know? What are the details? Suppose you want to access search engine. What do you have to know? Search engine related to Google. So what do you have to know? You need to know the URL. Suppose you don't know URL, will you be able to access? So the service provider, whenever a consumer comes and we wanted to utilize your service provider should give them URL, that is called as endpoint URL, which locates the service. Where is the service? How the systems will know? By URL. So in this case, it is URL. Okay. And also, service provider should tell them the functionality of the service. In case of business, in case of Google, everyone knows what it is. But in case of business, you don't know. Let's say income tax application service. Income tax application service, when someone wants to consume by paying them, they will tell that, okay, this is the endpoint URL that you have to use. Not only endpoint URL, they have to tell the person, our service is designed by using SOAP protocol, and here our service functionality is whenever you send a request of PAN card number, our service will send back you same PAN card number plus customer name, related to PAN card and what is his tax information that he is paying. All this data we will be sending you. So when you are designing your system to consume, you need to design in such a way that you need to send us a request with a URL along with one ID. Now, when we send you back a response, your system should be able to receive the response of this much of data. These are the parameters in the response. So now the service provider should say endpoint URL and request parameters, response parameters, and data structure is XML, right? What is the data structure they have designed? Suppose PAN card number you are sending. Okay, this is the value. What is the value? XML value, PAN number. Okay, some PAN number. Okay, like this, you have some PAN number and the closing tag will be there. So is it only one tag that they have, or they may design in a different way also? They may design like this. So this will be there inside another tag. That is called request. Let's say, for example. So within a request tag, you have a PAN number, and this is the request information. Now, the consumer should also know the structure of the request. Without you send in this structure, then only we will accept it. Our system is designed to read only this structure of request. So now service provider should tell them, when you are sending the request in XML data structure, this should be the exact structure of the request. Suppose you send different structure, they cannot read. Exactly everything should match. Now the response is like this. This is the response structure. Response, PAN number plus they have, let's say, customer name, okay. So like this, and additional text will be there, more text, let's say tax paid. Like this. So you will receive the response in this data structure. So you design your system in such a way that when this response is received, you should be able to utilize it by conversion. Everyone clear? So this is how the service provider should let the consumers know about what is the endpoint URL, what are the request and response parameters, what is the request data structure and response data structure. All these they should let them know. See, in case of SOAP service, the service providers will maintain all the data, including endpoint URL, and also do we need credentials? Suppose service is authenticated service, then credentials. You should know this is the username and password that we should receive, then only we will accept the request. Otherwise, we consider this is unauthorized request. So endpoint URL, credentials, request data structure, response data structure, and the parameters, all this information they will maintain in a file, and they will place the file something .ws will maintain, okay, as a visible file, WSDL. So they maintain in a file, that file they call it as WSDL document. WSDL document means WSDL stands for web service description language. What is there in the WSDL? In the WSDL document, it has the details about the service. That is what the meaning. WSDL means web service description. It describes the details about the web service. What are the details that it describes? Endpoint URL of the service, service name, service methods, and credentials, request and response parameters, and the respective data structure. All the details, instead of providing them by mail or something, they will maintain in a document. The document will be placed on some server location. Now they will provide one URL called WSDL URL. You hit that URL, you should be able to download the document, WSDL document. If you have downloaded WSDL document, that means what are all the information that you have got? You got complete information about the web service location, web service name, web service methods, and web service credentials, and request and response data structure, everything. So in case of SOAP, the details about the web service will be provided in a document called WSDL document. The document you can directly give, place a document on server and give the URL to download the document. That is called WSDL URL. So if you are a consumer, you want to consume a SOAP service, you need to ask the service provider, provide me the web service related SSDL URL. That's it. Fair enough. Means he is giving you all the details. You're taking all the details. Everyone clear so far? Online resources.
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you little more. Now the conversions that we are going to talk about, right? So suppose if it is SOAP service, consumer has to convert from native language to XML. When he receives the response in XML format, it should be converted from XML to native. Either of the places, either consumer or service provider, conversion from native to XML to native is needed. Correct? These techniques, what do we call? Converting from, everyone should remember this, native to XML is called as streaming. What do you call? Streaming. Native language to XML structure. It will be streamed into XML. Okay. And XML into native language. XML into native language. Then this is called as, what do you call this? Parsing. What do you call? Parsing. So you are going to parse from XML into your own native language. You are going to stream from native into XML language. Okay, everyone clear? So these are the techniques that we call it. Online resources clear with this technical words? Okay, this is about SOAP service. Whenever we are going to build a service or consume a service which is built based on SOAP protocol, then the data structure supported is XML data structure. And if you're trying to consume, you need to take the SSDL URL, means which will have complete details about the service, name of the service, location of the service endpoint URL, methods of the service, credentials, request and response parameters and the respective XML data structure of it. All the details will be there. Okay. And these techniques to be implemented, which are called as streaming and parsing. Streaming means converting from native to XML. Parse means XML into native language. Everyone clear? So, well, coming to Pega.